One day, Chibiko slept for so long that when he woke up, it was already getting dark outside again. "Oh dear," he thought to himself. "I'm wide awake and it's almost bedtime again. What should I do?" Chibiko wasn't used to being up so late. Daytime was for being awake and nighttime was for sleeping. Whatever did people do during nighttime anyway? He thought about this for a moment, and then it hit him. People watch movies in their homes at nighttime. At least, he thought that was one thing that they might do. And so, Chibiko got a bowl of popcorn and sat himself down in front of his television with his remote in hand so that he could see what movies there were to watch. There were funny movies, there were cartoons, and there were romantic movies. There were also action movies. Chibiko imagined what it might be like to be a kung fu master. Sad movies, and movies about real life. There were also scary movies. Ah, Chibiko thought, scary movies are what people watch late at night. I'll watch a scary movie. And so, Chibiko chose a scary movie, sat back, and started to eat his popcorn. The movie was very scary, and after a while, Chibiko could swear that he saw a spider creeping towards him from the corner of the room. Chibiko thought that he should get up from his chair and go to another room, but when he tried to, he found that he was too scared to move. The shadowy object got closer and closer and closer. And then, it said, "Hello! Gah!" Chibiko started to shriek, but then he paused. He had been expecting a roar, or an evil laugh, or maybe something like the sound of nails on a chalkboard. Instead, he had heard a simple hello. It was a friendly sounding hello too. It even sounded a little bit shy, like maybe it was also scared. Chibiko opened his eyes. "Hello," the thing said again. "My name is Danny. I live in the treehouse next door." Danny reached out a thin arm and Chibiko shook his hand. "Nice to meet you," he said. "Would you like to watch this movie with me? I think we'd both feel braver if we had a friend to watch with." And so, thanks to a scary movie, Chibiko became friends with a little triangle that had been hiding near his home. One morning, while eating scrambled eggs for breakfast, Chibiko started to remember how much trouble he had had when learning to cook different things. Even now, he didn't have a cookbook or a website with instructions that he could follow. He made food from his own memory. Sometimes he got things right the first time, but other recipes took many tries. There was the time when he couldn't figure out how much salt to put on his fried pork and ended up using far too much. There was the time when he didn't know how long to leave his waffles cooking for. There was also the time when he didn't know what size pot to use for his sinigang soup. And there was the incident with his attempted Sunday roast. As he finished up his breakfast, it occurred to him that the reason he had so much trouble learning to cook new things was because he wasn't very good at counting. And so, he decided to dedicate this day to get better at counting to 10. First, he tried to count his fingers. 1, 2. Well, that was easy enough. He looked around his house for other things to count. Aha! Windows! 1, 2, 3. 3 windows! He was still a few numbers away from 10, however. And so he looked around for more things. Cushions, he decided. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Wait, that wasn't a cushion. That was Danny.
What are you doing?
Danny asked. I'm practicing counting, Chibiko said. But I'm having trouble finding 10 things to count. I'm sorry that I thought you were a cushion.
It's an easy mistake to make, Danny said. My mother always said that I was a bit cushiony. Do you want me to help you find some things to count?
Yes, please, Chibiko said. Danny thought for a moment, and then he walked around Chibiko's house and collected all of the cups that had been lying around. Chibiko can be a bit messy with cups.
Here, he said. Try counting these.
Chibiko looked at the collection of cups and started pointing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9.
Wait, Danny said. You forgot 7.
Oh, Chibiko said. He started to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
Stop! Danny said. You did it again!
Did I? Chibiko asked.
You did, Danny replied. Just remember that 10 is scared of 7. Do you know why?
Why? Chibiko asked.
Because 7 ate 9, Danny answered, and then laughed so hard that he fell off of the sofa.
Chibiko didn't laugh. He was focusing very hard. He started pointing at all of the cups again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10! I did it! He beamed.
Congratulations!
Danny said. It was getting late, and the stars were coming out in the sky. Danny and Chibiko both looked out at the stars through the window. Chibiko practiced counting to 10 with the stars, and then he counted to 20, and then to 30. There were so many of them, and they were very beautiful. Although, some of them were black. Wait, no. Those were ants. Chibiko sighed. He was going to have to remember to pack the sugar away, or else he would be counting to 1,000. Some time ago, when he was younger, Chibiko had decorated the walls of his house with lots of stickers. He had used all sorts of stickers. He had farm animals and dinosaurs, superheroes and racing cars, cartoon characters and different planets. His favorite one was of a manta ray that glowed in the dark at night once he had turned the lights off. The stickers were a bit old now though, and so Chibiko decided that it was about time that he peeled them off. He started with a dinosaur, but when he peeled it, oh no! He had peeled some of the paint away too. He peeled off a few more stickers, and then some more, and then even more. Each time he peeled a sticker off, he peeled some paint off as well. By the time he was finished, his wall was covered in spots where there wasn't any paint anymore. This just won't do, Chibiko thought to himself. A wall needs to be nicely painted. And so he went out to buy some paint. While at the hardware store and trying to decide if he wanted red, blue, or yellow paint for his walls, Chibiko ran into Danny.
Not sure what color you want?
Danny asked. No, I'm not, Chibiko answered. I like red because it makes me think of yummy apples and cherries. I like blue because it's like looking at the sky on a sunny day. And I like yellow because it's like sand on the beach.
Why not buy one of each and then decide when you're back in your house? Danny suggested. I can help you paint.
Chibiko was grateful for both Danny's suggestion and his offer of help. And so they bought 3 tins of paint and 2 brushes and went back to Chibiko's home together. Once they were inside, they decided that maybe they could paint different rooms in new, different colors. They painted the bedroom yellow because the sun was yellow, and a yellow room would also make Chibiko think of sunflowers. After this, they got out the red paint and started to paint Chibiko's kitchen, because red wasn't just the color of apples and cherries, but also of strawberries and rhubarb and tomato soup, and many other delicious things. Last but not least, they painted his living room blue, because it was the biggest room, and because things like the ocean are also very, very big. When they were finished, they decided that they deserved a drink of orange juice. The only problem was, Danny couldn't see Chibiko anywhere.
Where are you?
Danny asked. Over here, Chibiko replied. But when Danny looked at where Chibiko's voice had come from, he could see nothing but blue.
I can't see you,
Danny said. But I'm right here, Chibiko replied.
Let's just go to the kitchen and get our orange juice,
Danny said. When they went to the kitchen, they realized what the problem was. Chibiko had painted himself blue. All of that painting in different colors had made him confused. Let's just paint the rooms again tomorrow. Maybe to the same colors that they were before we started, Chibiko said, as he put some ice into 2 glasses to make sure that their juice would be nice and cold. Chibiko was bored. He sat on the sofa, stared at the wall, and sighed. He had spent the whole afternoon watching TV, and it wasn't even good TV. It was boring TV. He had been watching the television simply because he couldn't think of anything more interesting to do than watching television. And now he was wishing that he hadn't spent so much time watching. He could have drawn some pictures, or learned to cook something new, or tried to play the guitar. The only problem was, he didn't know what he wanted to draw, whether he wanted to make a green curry or perhaps bake a cake, or indeed what song he wanted to play. Perhaps I could go somewhere, he thought to himself as he got up and looked out of his window. But the afternoon was growing late, and the moon was now already faintly visible in the sky. It would soon be nighttime, and the night was too dark for Chibiko to comfortably go out and about. He looked back at his sofa. He looked out of the window again, and then he had an idea. Chibiko picked up his phone and called Danny. "Are you free tomorrow?" he asked. "I have an idea for something we can do." Chibiko went to his storeroom and got all of the empty cardboard boxes that he could find. He then made a simple dinner for himself that may have contained a few too many onions, and then he went to bed. He was looking forward to what he and his friend would do the following day. The next morning, Chibiko woke up the second his alarm sounded. He was very excited. He took a shower, ate breakfast, and brushed his teeth. Then, his doorbell rang. Danny had arrived exactly on time.
What are we doing?
Danny asked. "Follow me," Chibiko said, and led his friend to the pile of boxes. "Can you help me bring these out to the backyard?" he said. And so, Danny and Chibiko spent the morning moving boxes to Chibiko's backyard and arranging them. They took a break to eat lemon-flavored cookies and drink mango lassi. And then in the afternoon, they moved the sofa. It was very heavy, but Chibiko promised that it would be worth the effort. At last, they were done. "We did it!" Chibiko exclaimed.
Did what?
Danny asked. "Look!" Chibiko said, pointing to the body of boxes surrounding his sofa. "We built a spaceship!"
Wow!
Danny said.
Can we ride it?
"Of course we can," Chibiko replied. And so, as the afternoon turned to evening and the moon slowly rose in the sky, Chibiko and Danny sat comfortably on the sofa of their very own spaceship and went on a space adventure together. One morning, after eating breakfast and brushing his teeth, Chibiko sat himself on his sofa with a plonk, picked up the remote control and pointed it at his television. Nothing happened. He pressed a few more buttons before he remembered that there was a hole in the front of his TV. It was broken, and he would have to wait until he bought a new one before he could watch Gumdrop Gumboots, Ninja Hot Dog Squad, News Grumps, or any other of his favorite shows. While he was wondering about what kind of new TV to buy, or if he could get this one fixed, Chibiko's phone rang and he answered it. "Hello, this is Chibiko," he said.
Hi, Chibiko. It's Danny.
His triangular friend answered.
I was just wondering if you had anything that you were planning to do for today.
"Well, I was planning to watch some TV shows," Chibiko said. But
what?
Danny asked. "My TV doesn't work. I broke it," Chibiko told him.
Don't worry,
Danny said, suddenly excited.
I have an idea.
"What idea?" Chibiko asked.
Just wait and see. I'll be there in a couple of minutes,
Danny said, and then hung up the phone. Whatever was Danny planning to do? Chibiko wondered. Soon, the doorbell rang. Ding dong! When Chibiko opened the door, he saw that Danny had brought with him a big cardboard box, a pair of scissors, sticky tape, lots of paper, and different colored paints.
"We'll make our own TV show!"
Danny exclaimed, and they both went inside. They ate some pork adobo for lunch together, and then set about making everything that they would need to make their own television show. They spent the whole afternoon cutting and measuring and sticking and painting, until finally they were ready, just before sundown.
"Ready?"
Danny asked. "Ready!" Chibiko said. Good evening, people of Saturn. It's time for the daily news. Today was peaceful in the morning, but around lunchtime, some dinosaurs jumped over from the rings and started to eat all of the food in one family's fridge. Here's what one of them had to say.
"It was really scary. There were so many of them, and they were very big. Thankfully, I was able to keep one pizza from them by hiding it under the sofa."
It is believed that a Tyrannosaurus, Brachiosaurus, and Triceratops were the main fridge raiders. A Stegosaurus is believed to have hurt its leg after landing. It is now being treated at Saturn Central Hospital. In other news, the great annual ice cream ring race is set to start tomorrow. This is a traditional race in which Martian wombats drive cars made out of ice cream around the rings of Saturn for 3 weeks. The wombat with the most laps at the end of this time will be the champion, which means that he or she gets to eat all of the ice cream cars. Last year's winner, Wemble, seen here looking very happy, is this year's favorite as well. Ding 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 ding! And that's all we have time for tonight. Remember people, stay safe and sleep well.
"You're a natural," Danny said. "We should do this again one day."
That might be fun, Chibiko thought as he saw Danny out before it got too dark, and then went to his room and put himself to bed. It can be fun to do things, instead of just watching them sometimes. And then he went to sleep. Chibiko came home with a large paper bag full of groceries. It was quite heavy, and he had had some trouble opening the front door. But he eventually got inside and went to the kitchen to unpack. This was the first time that he had been shopping in some time, and so he had bought a lot of food. He had milk and cheese, some bread, some pork and some chicken, a few snacks, and some vegetables. He packed everything away. That's pretty lucky, he thought to himself as he put the last bag of candy in a cabinet. The bag was starting to tear open. A few more minutes and I might have lost everything. He then made himself a grilled cheese sandwich for dinner, brushed his teeth, and went to bed.
"Chibiko!"
a voice said. Chibiko groaned and turned his face into his pillow.
"Chibiko!"
the voice said again. Chibiko sat up and rubbed his eyes. Danny was in his bedroom. Chibiko really needed to get better about locking his door when he was home.
"You won't believe it!"
Danny's voice was almost shouting. Chibiko couldn't tell if his friend was excited or afraid. "Believe what?" Chibiko asked.
"Follow me!"
Danny said, and then rushed out of the bedroom. Chibiko got up and followed his friend, through the living room and to his front door. He couldn't believe his eyes. There was an enormous pumpkin in his front yard.
I could hear it growing when I was trying to sleep last night, Danny said. Isn't it incredible? I wonder how it got here.
Chibiko stood in thought. Jelly beans quite often appeared in his front yard, but a pumpkin? That was something new entirely. Just how did it get there? Oh, Chibiko said as he suddenly realized something. There was a small hole in my shopping bag yesterday. Maybe a small pumpkin or something fell out before I got inside?
That makes sense, Danny said. Pumpkins can be kind of weird and magical at this time of year. I wonder what we should do with this one. It looks delicious.
Chibiko wasn't really sure if pumpkins were magic at any time of the year. But it was true that there was a very big one in his front yard right now. I think it's a bit too big for us to eat it all, Chibiko began.
What if we turned it into a swimming pool? Danny suggested.
I, don't think so, Chibiko replied.
What about a hot tub? Danny said.
Wouldn't that basically be like taking a bath in pumpkin soup? Chibiko said.
I guess so,
Danny said. His voice sounded a little disappointed. Why don't we just decorate it? Chibiko said. In fact, your body might be the perfect shape to measure the eyes with. Danny seemed to like this idea, and so they set about using him to measure and cut out some eyes on the giant pumpkin. It was a lot of fun, but all of the measuring and cutting was very hard work, and it was already starting to get dark by the time they were done. I don't think we have time to cut out a proper mouth, Chibiko said. It's getting late.
Don't worry,
Daddy beamed and quickly ran off to his treehouse. Chibiko was curious about what Danny was doing, but he didn't have to wait long. Danny returned with a box of crayons.
I find it scary if we cut out a normal mouth, he said as he offered Chibiko a choice of color. Let's just draw one in our own style.
And so, Chibiko and Danny worked together to create a very large and very unique jack-o'-lantern. It wasn't scary, but it wouldn't have mattered. They were both exhausted and had fallen asleep before they could even eat dinner and get to their beds. One day, Chibiko woke up feeling a little bit cold. At first, he was worried that he might be sick, but when he got out of bed and looked out of the window, he noticed that there were white dots fluttering down outside his house. It was snowing. Feeling very excited, Chibiko took a nice hot shower, ate some breakfast, brushed his teeth, and then searched his closet for something warm to wear. No? Nope. Perhaps not. Something else, maybe? No. Yeah, oh dear. Chibiko dug and dug and dug through his closet, making a terrible mess of his bedroom as he did so, until finally he found what he was looking for. Ah, that's better. Now that he was properly dressed, Chibiko could go outside and play in the snow. He opened his front door, and walked out into the winter wonderland that had come to visit his home. Much to Chibiko's surprise, even though the ground was white and snow was falling from the sky, it was still quite sunny outside. What a nice day it was turning out to be. While he had seen snow in TV shows and movies before, this was the first time that it had ever snowed in Chibiko's town. He wondered if he should go to the park and see if people were having a snowball fight. But he was a bit scared to wander too far from his house when it was snowing so much. And so he instead decided to fall back into the snow and make an angel. Poof! Ouch! Chibiko had always imagined that snow was soft, like white cotton candy from the sky, only less sticky. It turned out that it was a little bit harder and a bit more icy than he had been expecting. Still, it had cushioned his fall enough, and so he waved his arms up and down and created a beautiful snow angel.
Nice angel, a voice said. Want to try making something else?
Chibiko sat up and saw Danny standing beside what looked like the base of a snowman.
Sure, Chibiko said. What do you want me to do? Can you roll a nice big snowball to use as a body? Danny asked. I'll make the head.
Chibiko gave a salute like he had seen on a movie once.
Can do, Captain, he said,
and then set about rolling a nice big snowball to use as the snowman's body. As he rolled, he wondered what they might name their snowman. Tom, Brett, Angelus, Yuki. Oh, what if it was a snow woman? Jessica? Lara? Marlene? And what would they dress it in? Maybe he had a spare scarf? Did they have a top hat? Would a snowman or woman want to wear a jacket? Perhaps he shouldn't worry about what it would wear until after he had figured out what he and Danny would use for things like buttons, eyes, and a nose. Did he have any carrots in the house? Would celery make an okay nose, or would it just look strange? Maybe he could use pieces of chocolate for the buttons and the eyes. But he wondered if Danny would be tempted to eat those. He knew that he himself would be.
Chibiko! Chibiko, where are you?
Chibiko could hear Danny calling his name.
I'm just here, Chibiko answered. Where? Danny asked. Here, Chibiko said again. Oh, Danny said.
Chibiko had spent so much time thinking while he was rolling his snowball that instead of helping to make a snowman, he had turned himself into one. It was very dark outside, but this was because it is dark all winter in the North Pole. It was actually still before dinner time, and Santa Danny was double checking that he had all of the presents that he would need for the night. It was a very big number, much higher than Chibiko could count to. Fortunately, although it was very cold, the sky was clear and many stars twinkled beautifully against it. Santa Danny finished counting and looked up at his sleigh. The elves had prepared a chicken for him to eat later, but he expected that he would fill up on milk and Christmas cake and cookies and whatever else might be left out for him while he worked. He put the chicken into a spare pink gift box and climbed aboard. It had been a tough year, so he had granted the reindeer a special holiday break on the moon. To help him out, they had left him some magic dust which should help the sleigh fly. One way to find out.
Onward, Dasher and Dancer, Prancer and... Wait, you're not here, Santa Danny said. I guess... let's just go?
The sleigh took off at great speed. It looked wonderful, flying against a backdrop of sparkling stars. But then, it became cloudy. Santa Danny was a bit sad that he couldn't see the sky, but at least it was still safe to fly. But then it started to become snowy. It was very cold, but Santa Danny kept flying. Then it became rainy. Santa Danny had to be very careful not to fall as he dug up a blanket to throw over the toy sack, just to be extra sure that all of the presents wouldn't get too wet. But then, just as he was almost finished, it became very, very windy. The wind caught an untouched corner of the blanket and Santa Danny's sled started to spiral out of control. It spun towards the ground, just outside of the city. Crash! Santa Danny bounced across the ground. Everything was blurry and he felt quite dizzy. He stood up and tried to get his bearings. Where was his sleigh? Never mind that. There were presents scattered everywhere. He would have to pick them all up first. And he would have to hurry. He had many deliveries to make. He found a yellow present beside a giant candy cane. He was very hungry, so he ate the candy cane. Then he found an orange present next to an old stocking. He was still hungry, so he ate the stocking as well. After this, he found a blue present next to a tree. He still wasn't full, so he ate the tree. Finally, he could see the sleigh. There was a pink present just in front of it. He didn't want to eat his sleigh, so he ate the present. Ah, full at last. Chibiko woke up very suddenly. He was sweating. He looked at the time. He had overslept. On Christmas Day! Danny was visiting for a big lunch. He had to hurry to get ready. Chibiko had only finished getting the plates out when his doorbell rang. "Happy holidays!" Danny said. "Merry Christmas!" Chibiko replied, and then paused. "Is something wrong?" Danny asked. I had a strange dream," Chibiko said. "You were Santa, and you crashed, and you lost some presents, and you ate many strange things, and I overslept," he admitted. "Lunch isn't ready yet. I'm sorry." "Don't worry about it," Danny said. "It looks like the real Santa left you a present. Let's open that first." Chibiko went and picked up his gift. It was certainly nicely wrapped. "I wonder what it is," Danny said. "I got a basketball." Chibiko was silent. "Well," Danny said, "what is it?" It's... Chibiko said. His voice was full of disbelief. "It's chicken!" "How lucky!" Danny said. "It smells good. We can have lunch after all." "I guess we can," Chibiko said happily. The chicken was cooked perfectly, and so Chibiko and Danny enjoyed a delicious holiday lunch together. Although as they ate, Chibiko couldn't help but wonder if his friend had a very important, maybe even magical secret.